dot on your target, then you blow the shit out the motherfucker.
The story of Death Row Records was probably one of the great stories that happened, you know, in America in the mid-90s.
The Death Row Records story told the tale of three major record labels, almost brought one of them down, rattled another to its core, and set the framework for a whole new way of doing business in the music business.
It's about empowerment. It's about greed. It's about ego. It's about sex. It's about violence. It's about fame. It's about failure. I mean, you don't get any more American than that.
Steve and Lee and I were sitting and looking at footage, and we were looking at the transcripts, and we realized we had a tremendous amount of material about Ruthless Records and NWA and the absolute origins of gangster rap.
I said, I'm going to write a screenplay called Straight Outta Compton based on all this material that we've captured.
NWA to me was like anti-establishment.
They was bringing, you know, South Central to the forefront and what was happening and, you know, drugs and the whole shot. I mean, they was hitting another element of a society that nobody else had touched on.
We really learned much more about Suge Knight as the process went on and his MO. And by virtue of his proximity to being a bodyguard, he learned to understand that there were some issues that Dr. Dre and other members that were in the Ruthless Records fold were having.
He was a very brilliant businessman. Whatever his tactics might have been, whoever he had to step on to get there, his main objective was to just get there at any cost.
This guy had been extraordinarily successful, unbelievably successful. He had many, many homes. He'd made millions and millions of dollars. And he was seen still very much, even in the wake of going to prison, as this iconic person that people were treating and looking at unfairly.
Death Row Records. Suge Knight, these people with the guns and the trouble and the east and the west. Oh boy. But I thought about it for about 2 seconds. I said, that's a great story. When do we start?
We probably didn't truly understand how dangerous this story was until we got into it.
This is Michael Harris, a man drug agents describe as a major cocaine trafficker.
Mike said, well, we need to meet. And Suge said, well, I got a couple of cases. You know, I can't get in to visit you. So Mike said, no, I got this attorney. He's bad. He can get you in here.
David Kenner brought Suge Knight to see Michael at a Metropolitan Detention Center in downtown Los Angeles.
When I asked the question to Suge, what does it actually take, he told me that we could be 50-50 partners for about $1.5 million.
Michael Harris said, oh, you don't have to worry about a thing. You've got a ghetto pass when you're with me.
We had Suge Knight in jail. If Suge Knight had been out, it probably would have been virtually impossible to capture the interviews that we did because he terrifies people.
Suge grabbed me by my feet and everything went haywire. Loosened up my teeth and I had 2 black eyes.
For a 3-year process, you're waiting. I mean, you're sitting there going, God, if something happens to the people that work here, this is really going to be, this is on me. The Harrises wanted a black editor. I get there and I see him and he's been beaten up. I mean, it was just a series of moments like this.
Very, very early on, Lydia came in and she opens up her handbag just enough to let me know that she has a handgun in there. I am at this point thinking, what did I get myself into?
What we didn't understand is the sort of the gang element. The extent to which the Crips and Bloods had been brought into the office atmosphere and the extent to which there was sort of gang loyalty among Suge Knight very much at that point.
I don't think that was a good idea. When Suge started to participate in the gang activity, I was very adamant with him about that, and I told him that would be his demise.
There was crazy stuff that happened in the interviews.
You would sense that there was always something being held back. And then often we would see things like this. Hold the camera. And then they would tell us a story when the camera was off. What would Suge say if he heard me say this? What would Michael Harris say if he heard me say this on camera? They were frightened, plain and simple.
Death threats were coming in. People would call and the person on the other end of the line would say, you're gonna die, motherfucker. You're gonna fucking die. That takes a little skip out of your step for the rest of the day. You know, you're sitting there going, is this real or imagined? Is this, and this is really what it was like.
Controversy is what Death Row started living off of, instead of talent.
If this was chess, we'd be yelling checkmate 3 motherfucking years ago, because we've been beat these motherfuckers.
And we sent a crew up to Oakland, and you know, guns were pulled.
We, I felt, were no longer in control of our own production. That, you know, we had to rein it in one way or the other.
Suge Knight starts a label from nothing and delivers 6 consecutive multi-platinum albums, just absolutely crazy, unprecedented. This provided the foundation that created in Interscope, one of the most powerful label groups in the music industry.
The Death Row Records story can literally be 5 or 6 different films. There is that much material.
The prequel to the story of the rise and fall of Death Row was the story of NWA and Ruthless, the relationship between Eazy-e and Jerry and the other acts that were developed there, the development of Dr. Dre within Ruthless, because that's what Suge Knight sizes up and decides that he's going to take. He's going to rip the guts out of Ruthless Records, which is what he did. It's about greed, it's about unbridled ambition, it's about haves and have-nots, and about making it in America. And that's why it's really one of the great, you know, music and business stories of the 1990s.